Greetings and welcome to In Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. Politician and attorney at law, His Excellency Arthur H.W. Williams was appointed Jamaica's High Commissioner to Trinidad and Tobago. Now, this follows an assignment as Jamaica's representative to the Inter-American Development Bank. He joins us now ahead of the imminent arrival of Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness to discuss forging deeper connections between our nations. Welcome, High Commissioner, and belated Emancipendence to you. How are you at this point in time?
I'm very well, thank you, and warm greetings to you too.
And I want to thank you so much for making the time and let's start off by looking at the significance of the invitation to the Jamaican Prime Minister by the Trinbagonian Prime Minister and the acceptance of PM Holness to be here in TNT for this country's Independence Day observances.
Yes, because we started the journey of independence together. Jamaica on August 6th, Trinidad on August 31, 1962. So in terms of the Caribbean, we started the journey together, and we were the leaders in the independence attainment. And we have had close ties over these 60 years. It is fitting that Jamaican Prime Minister should celebrate with you in Trinidad.
And even taking it back from the visit, which we will get into in a little more detail in just a bit, personally, to you, what does independence or national independence mean?
Our desire to chart our own destiny was a loud cry in the late 50s and 60s. You will remember that in the late 50s and 60s, a number of countries gained their independence, Cyprus, a number of African countries, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone. There's an independence movement that was taking place. And it spread across the Caribbean too. And we had our desire to chart our own destiny, to get our British people out of our affairs, that we could stop having our chief minister and a premier and have our own prime minister, like Britain did, and having our own judiciary and civil service that is free of influence of our colonial masters. And so it is we are charting our own destiny, making our own mistakes, solving our own problems, and working for the betterment of our own people.
And I don't know if it was a problem or a challenge to you, but there was no grand gala on the 6th of August in Trinidad and Tobago. But talk to me a little bit about the difference between celebrating Jamaican independence while you are here in Trinidad and Tobago. What are some of those main differences?
Well, you know, in Jamaica, right after independence, in the 4 years after, we developed a model we call Jamaica Independence Festival, popularly called Festival by our people. And that is a set program which has continued up to this day. So we have our popular gospel song contest, our mentor band contest, our festival queen contest. The popular song is the highlight of that. We have on the 1st of August each year an agricultural show, much like what took place in Savannah recently. Every year on the 1st of August. We have our merry-go-round where we showcase the best of poetry, song, dance, drama, and so on. And then our Grand Gala. This year, our Grand Gala had a feature of 300 drones that formed in the night sky our logo with the Dr. Bird and the Jamaica 60. It was something to see. So we have our set program, which we do every year. Whether it's 60 or 61 or 59, we do the same thing every year. It is our time for our people to express themselves, express their culture, and their desires to be together as one people.
And that's one of the things that I really appreciated in terms of that drone showcase in the night sky.
Yes.
Looking at how you're marrying the technology along with tradition. And not saying that we need to put one out because the other one is coming in, but marrying those two together and saying, yes, we can continue to be who we are and just use different ways to articulate the way that we're being.
Yes, absolutely. We still have our float parades with people coming into the stadium with their dance and their various other things. But each time we try to improve and to do better. And it really was a wonderful event this year, that drone show. The usual fireworks and so on that we all do in celebration, but we try to improve on everything each time.
And then looking at and I want to go back to the ties and the relationships that we have between nations, High Commissioner. And I remember someone being in Jamaica at that point in time when Usain Bolt was slapping his chest and crossing with 9.58, and reminding some individuals that a little while ago, this like about 76, the roles were reversed. So in terms of Hazley Crawford and Mr. Quarry versus Usain Bolt and Richard Thompson. And I think sometimes there's this almost sibling rivalry that helps us bring out the best in each other. But speak a little bit to that relationship, thank you.
Oh, well, okay. That relationship has gone even prior to independence. Because, we are the University of the West Indies from 1948. And we have been together in that respect all these years. Jamaica has excelled, as we all know, in sport, in athletics. And we want our Caribbean brothers and sisters to also excel. And one of the things that we have been talking about is with a collaboration between us in terms of bringing our coaching level up to the standard that Jamaica has in all the Caribbean territories. Because there's talent in every island. Caribbean Games this year showed that talent resides right across the Caribbean. And we need to make sure that we rise together rather than just one country being on top.
All right, and what I think we're going to do is we want to continue looking at that relationship, and the fact that the pandemic is still with us, even though we're looking as though we're stepping out of it, and we're giving thanks for that. How has that relationship fared during the pandemic?
During the pandemic, it was a difficult time for all of us. You know that Trinidad had a long lockdown, total lockdown. We nevertheless worked together. We did 3 repatriation flights during the pandemic to get Jamaicans home. So we worked together with our 2 ministers of foreign affairs and Caribbean Airlines and achieved that. So even in the height of the pandemic, we collaborated to the benefit of both our countries. We are getting back to some level of normality, which we must. We have to. Yes, we have to continue to take care to ensure that we do not succumb to the bad elements of the pandemic, the long-term effects. But we must get back to normality. But our countries really work together during that time.
And we want to continue with this conversation when we return from the break. We're speaking with High Commissioner for Jamaica to Trinidad and Tobago, His Excellency Arthur H.W. Williams. Stay with us. We'll return with more. Welcome back. We are looking at the issue of forging deeper connections between Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago. We do so with High Commissioner for Jamaica to TNT, His Excellency Arthur H.W. Williams. And High Commissioner, one of the things that I tell people about while we are looking at the fact you mentioned that the agri-show, it recently took place, I tell people I really fell in love with yellow yam and pumpkin in Jamaica in terms of like really learning to love it. But it seems to be there's a focus that has gone on in Jamaica with regard to ways of growing things, food security. What are some of those things that you're hoping in terms of lessons that we can learn between our nations on that front?
We have been feeding ourselves in many ways for a long time. We have some farmers in a parish called St. Elizabeth, perhaps the driest parish in the country. And you'll be surprised to know what they do in terms of farming vegetables in that area, especially things like scallion and melons and so on. And so we have learned to produce in ways that takes into account our climatic conditions. Our food is noted across the world, and we have we can produce things that maybe Trinidad can't, and vice versa. And we really need to look at the issue of using our own products. I prefer a guava to American apple. I think it's more nutritious in and it is grown right here. And we need to really look at substituting some of what we import for our local products, which are of equal or better standard. It's a work in progress. A great start has been made by our Caribbean leaders, led by Guyanese's president, and I have great hopes that that will achieve good results for our countries in the region.
And how much of that do you think is just mindset, High Commissioner? And I say that looking at the Jamaican example of brands like True Juice and others like that, where it's not even a style or a fad, it's just that this is a fruit and we're going to make the juice from it, as opposed to saying, okay, well, this is something that is new and exotic. Because it seems that it's just so entrenched that people expect to be able to have their juices coming from local fruits. And I think that is a paradigm shift that we need to be working on a little more. You with me on that one?
I'm totally with you on that. And I was shown a facility just over the hill from here where you used to have citrus coming into Port of Spain every day, which is now closed. We need to get back to that kind of situation where we really utilize what we grow, what we can produce and produce in good quantities, sufficient to feed, not only to feed Trinidad, but that you can export to the other small islands that don't have the capacity that Trinidad does to produce our own fruits and vegetables and so on. There's no reason whatsoever why we should be importing vegetables from outside the region. We can grow virtually everything in the region.
And one of the things I also look at is the way that growing it is one thing, but having it look, I want to say a certain way or a certain standard. People normally expect something coming from foreign or outside to look a little better. The packaging is a little fresher.
Yeah.
But there's some movements that I see coming out of Jamaica that I find really interesting. I remember when I was in Jamaica, looking at the packaging for, they say Mary's banana chips.
Yes.
That is a very different packaging now. I say,
yes.
hey, say
yes.
Mary's get fancy.
Indeed.
So in terms of like looking at the way that we can build upon the gains that are already happening, the foundations, where does that factor into the equation for you?
Yes, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? Proper packaging, for example, is available. It's the standards, we know the standards. All we have to do is ensure that we utilize the best that we can get and share within the region. You have to have attractive packaging to attract your customers. And we have started on that road. I don't think we have reached the end of the road, but we are on the way, and I think that we can, this is again a part of the thing we can collaborate at the level of the effort that the prime ministers of our region are making. So it's not just growing the crop in the soil, but taking it from the soil to the table. And to take it to the table, it has to be attractive.
I know someone talking about from the pod to the pack and from the seed
yes.
to the snack.
Indeed.
But even the way the narrative around what it is we're doing. And speaking of narrative, how important was it to you to see these heads of regional jurisdictions coming together saying, this is something that we are going to put our effort behind, and making it, apart from just putting in the effort, having it seen that that effort is being made? What kind of impact does that register for you?
It is of tremendous impact in this sense. Yes, all of us have ministers of agriculture, as we have 15 or 20 other ministers. But when the heads of government of the Caribbean, our prime ministers and our presidents, take on the responsibility to drive that process, that is what will bring success. And I commend them for the effort that they are making. I don't want to see it fail. They mustn't drop the ball and get back to running everything else that they do. They have to keep the focus on agriculture and on feeding ourselves in the Caribbean region. It must be driven by our leaders.
I smile even when talking about agriculture, take it back to sports in terms of like not dropping the ball. So I'm going to keep with sports a little bit. In terms of like passing on that baton, are there individual things or specific things that you're hoping to see come out of this meeting, the visit between the Jamaican Prime Minister visiting for Trinidad and Tobago independence?
Yes, well, both sides are developing an agenda of items that they wish to focus on during bilateral discussions. And I know it will involve some issues of, other governmental issues, but it certainly would involve cultural and sporting cooperation and collaboration. That is definitely on the agenda.
I hope there are no arguments about who does the better curry goat. But in terms of the last 2 minutes that we have, what are some of those things you'd want to say in terms of closing comments, forging closer ties between both nations as well as the entire region as we try to move forward and find our own solutions to the questions that plague many of us?
Jamaica and Trinidad, as the two largest countries in the region, have an obligation, in my view, to lead in the efforts to bring the region together. I see that happening. I see the commitment of the leaders, and I applaud the effort, and we all must work together to ensure that the objectives that the leaders are setting are achieved. It will require some give and take. It will require some sitting down and making rational decisions, not looking at competing, but rather collaborating to ensure that we as Caribbean brothers and sisters can be the best region in the world, and we can be.
I think we can even collaborate while competing in a friendly sort of way, and I think I'll bring the curtains down on the conversation. Quoting Professor Emeritus Rex Nettleford, it'll be better for us to hang together, because otherwise they'll hang us individually. High Commissioner, we want to thank you so much. Arthur H.W. Williams, High Commissioner for Jamaica to Trinidad and Tobago, looking at forging deeper connections between our jurisdictions. And on behalf of the entire news team, I'm Dike Rostant. This has been In Depth with me. Thank you for joining us.